Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning, everybody. How are we doing today? Everybody doing fine? I got sunshine, the wind has calmed down a little bit. Temperatures have been very accommodating, I would say. The warmer weather is not only pleasant to us, but it allows our heating bills here to almost be 50% of what they were last year, which is just an incredible break. Yeah. I have some things to say today, and it's in a continuation of our series called 2012. And 2012 kind of joins together with the Mayan calendar, which is 5,000 years old, and that 5,000-year-old calendar ends December 21st of this year. Lots and lots to talk about it. I went to a conference in California, and people were all over the board, from the world is going to end, and it's the end of time or the end of human existence, to it's a great new era. The doors are opening up, and we're going to be ushered into a way of life that is just so miraculous and so spectacular that we need to prepare ourselves for it. Now, this transformation in consciousness that's taking place, it's not going to be as if we wake up one morning and look out the door and the entire world has changed. It's not going to be something that we can stand and wait for in anticipation on midnight just before December 21st arrives. You know, it's almost like it's already come, and it's like an invisible mist that's enveloping all of humanity, and it's preparing us for life on earth in a way that we've never experienced before. The world we live in today is not the world that we grew up in. It's totally different. So we have to find a way how to be comfortable in and how to accommodate the incredible changes that are taking place. You know, there are more text messages sent in a single day than there are people on the earth. Now just think about that for a moment. There is more information in the New York Times in a week's time than people got during their entire lifetime 150 years ago. There will be more information exchanged this year than there has been in the last 5,000 years altogether. 1 out of every 8 people that gets married meets on the internet. In the midst of all this, the biggest population of English-speaking people in the entire world, you'd think the United States right off the bat, but it isn't. It's China. There's more English-speaking people in China than there is any place else. Also, all of our dreams and our fantasies and the things that we thought were impossible as children are starting to come true, especially in the realm of comic book heroes. Remember Dick Tracy? He had that little watch in his hand, and he could speak to people, and he could watch them, whoever he's speaking to. You know, that is available at affordable prices. Peter Pan, remember the little boy that couldn't grow old? Well, scientists have discovered a senescent cell that is the cell responsible for aging, and when they remove it from mice, the mice stop aging. If this kind of research continues, it'll be available to human beings, where they have literally right on the verge of discovering the fountain of youth. In the last Mission Impossible movie, one of the agents had on a pair of glasses, and there was a computer screen imposed in one of the lenses, and whatever he would focus on, whether it be a person, place, or thing, the computer would stream information across the glass lens to him about whatever it was he was looking at. Google has developed that pair of glasses, and they're getting ready to market it. And what this means is if you go to a museum and you focus on a piece of art, all the information you want will be streamed right across your glasses lens. Or a person. Or if you're in some strange country and you land upon a place that you don't know anything about, it's all right there before your very eyes. It is just incredible. And then we also have good old Captain Kirk. Remember Captain Kirk from the Starship Enterprise? When he wanted to go someplace, he simply stepped inside a chamber, and it transported him, teletransported him to wherever he wanted to go instantaneously. Well, at the University of China, they have developed a technique for teletransporting matter. And I agree, it is in a very, very small amount at this time, but they've been able to teletransport a piece of matter, a piece of substance, that same thing that we are composed of ourselves as human beings. They've been able to transport that 10 miles instantaneously. It's an incredible world that we're moving into. But the problem that exists is, how are we going to manage that? We can't move into the new age, based on the same principles and the same systems and the same programs that we've been able to manage the old age, so to speak. We need to develop new. Dictatorships that have existed for 10, 20, 30 years are being overthrown all over the world. People who have a concern about their power being lessened and their right to choose being taken away from them are creating Occupy movements, not only all over this country, but all over countries around the world. And it became very obvious when we stop and look at it that the systems we've depended on in the past, whether the financial systems, healthcare systems, environmental systems, global relation systems, all of those are breaking down because they cannot sustain themselves in this new age that we're moving towards. We can no longer be isolationists where we as a country are going to do our own thing and set our own environmental policies and set our own financial policies, because we're connected with people all over the world. And all the experts agree that to change these new systems for the new age that is upon us can't be done by one country or even a group of countries. It needs to be in concert with every single country and nation in the world. We all have to join together and move towards this as one global community. And the key word, which I mentioned last week, is cooperation. We as human beings have come to a point where we have to cooperate. We cannot have time for squabbles, wars, bullets, and battles anymore. It simply won't work in the new age. So as we approach this as new age, we need to think about systems that will carry us through. We need to think about that which we can initiate that creates a sense of cooperation, and move into this world with a great deal of positiveness and confidence, and knowing that we have what it takes to create a new world that is better for every single person on this planet and every life form on this planet. And that is, I think, incredible good news. What a great age we have to live in. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So with all that going on, it gets back to you. How is it with you in your life? Is it working or isn't it? I've realized over the past 10 years, or maybe even 20 years, that systems that I depended upon for me to negotiate and maneuver through life simply don't work anymore. I'm still trying to live by 1950 standards that were imposed on me by my family and friends at that time, but they don't fit into this box called 2012. So what are we to do? For a moment, take these words that I'm about to speak as being about you personally and take them to be true. I might not know many of you very well, but I do know that this is true about you. You have a mind, and that mind has power and potential that is yet to be discovered. If we were to compare our total consciousness mindset of the day to a stairway, I'd say maybe we're on the first or second stairway of an infinite number of stairs. You have a mind, it has power and potential that you have not discovered yet. And within that mind, there is an area of consciousness, a realm of consciousness that you occupy. You can think of it like a circle of sorts, and you're right in the middle of the circle. And in this circle are all the thoughts, feelings, attitudes, and perceptions that you've embraced, that you believe to be true. In this circle are all the attitudes that you use to interrelate with the world around you. In the middle of the circle, you react or respond to life according to the beliefs that you have. Well, if there's something going on in your world that you just can't get your hands around, if your life is continually on a roller coaster ride where you're going up and down, it's simply because the tools that you're using in this day and age are not sustainable in the new age. It's like sitting down to handwrite a letter to everybody who sends you an email. You simply can't do that. You're going to break down in the process. So this movement in consciousness to a higher level of thinking, a new way of thinking, a new way of living, isn't a drastic step where we lose the old self and we lose everything that we've always been about, but rather it's like going from riding a tricycle to a bicycle. It calls on us to develop a little bit more balance, a little bit more centering, and move into a realm of consciousness that we've never experienced before. In your circle, and let's call it the circle of influence, everything that happens in your world is dictated by the beliefs that you have in that circle. So your response to the world around you basically is pretty well set, and it comes from the belief system that you hold. Now here I need to digress for just a moment. Your mind has 4 basic functions. And if we look at these 4 functions, we can see how over the ages that they have developed. In the very beginning of life, the first function of consciousness, or the first power of consciousness that came about, was sensing. And microorganisms were able to sense sunlight, and they knew they needed to move towards it. They were able to feel their surroundings. They were able to know what was going on around them based on the senses that they had. Then as life evolved, and this is over millions of years, the next power of consciousness that came about was thinking. All of a sudden, microorganisms developed into plants, which developed into fish, which developed into animals, and they could think. And this mainly happened as a result of survival. They could think how to avoid their predators. So they became thinking creatures. Then as time went on and we moved through the Neanderthal man into the Cro-Magnon man, but that doesn't make any difference at all, the modern human being will say, all of a sudden the power of emotions came about. Before this, when somebody in the tribe would die, it was just a body laying in the dirt. Nobody really thought anything about it. But all of a sudden, with this new power of emotion that swept over people, they began to feel. And the first feeling was grief or loss when somebody they were very, very close to died. So they began to bury the people, and they put food on top of the grave, and they'd decorate the grave as a sign of their emotions they were feeling as they were losing these people. So we have sensing, we have thinking, and we have feeling, and that's basically the way that we still operate today. We move into a situation or circumstance, we sense what's going on, whether it's through eye, nose, ear, touch, taste. The senses bring back to us information that we think about, and we define that. This is what it means to me. A car driving down the street, we sense it, and there goes a 2010 Corvette. I think I like that car. There goes a 2010 Corvette with a very nice looking woman in it. I really like that car. So that's the way we go about our life. But once again, we rely on the beliefs that we have within our circle of influence to tell us what we like, what we don't like, that tell us when to push back, and when to just remain silent. What we're being called on now is to develop the 4th power of consciousness, which is sometimes called the Christ mind. It's sometimes called the universal mind, the Buddha mind, the higher mind, the intuitive mind. It doesn't make any difference what you call it, it's all the same. It's that next level of consciousness that we're being called on to move into. Now, all of you have visited this level of consciousness before. It's that place when you feel absolutely good without anything happening. The intuitive mind relies on the deep wisdom within you. It relies on wisdom that you've never learned. Within your circle of influence, everything in there, every belief, every thought, feeling, attitude, or perception has been told to you at some point of time. And you might have expanded upon it. You innovate within this circle. Let's use that word. You innovate. In other words, on the spiritual path, you're going to make things a little bit better in your life. You're going to make yourself a little bit better in your life. You continue to innovate in this circle of influence. Well, as we move to the next power of consciousness, this intuitive mind, we're being called on to do a discontinuous innovation. And that means that we're not going to innovate on what is, but we're going to discontinue that innovation and begin a brand new innovation into a new area of consciousness. When it comes to discontinuous innovation, think of it this way. At one time, there was the old sturdy wooden carts with the big wooden wheels that the horse would pull to carry stuff. Then it developed into a wagon where the rider could actually sit in the wagon and be carried along by the horses. And then it was innovated to the point where it became a buggy, where the seats were cushioned and it's much more comfortable. There are springs in the seats, and the wheels became much smoother. Continuous innovation. And it continued on that way until all of a sudden there was a discontinued innovation, and that was getting rid of the horse. And that's exactly what Henry Ford did. It was a discontinuous innovation. We can see the same thing all through history with all of our inventions and our discoveries. The typewriter. Or first it was a telegraph, and then it was a typewriter, and then it was an electric typewriter. And it continued to advance until discontinuous innovation, the computer. We didn't need to have typewriter ribbon and typewriter paper. We had a screen instead. Now, I'm telling you this because we're called on to make that same type of discontinuous innovation into the realm of intuitive thinking. And this is the most exciting thing that I can share for you. Now, intuitive mind is not going to the airport and getting ready to take a trip, and all of a sudden the thought comes to you, I think the plane's going to crash, so I'm not going to get on it. That's not intuitive thinking. That is fear-based thinking. Or, I'm going out to a lake, you're standing on the shore, and you think, I know if I go into that lake, I'm going to drown, even though I'm a very good swimmer. That is fear-based thinking. From the intuitive mind, there is no fear. And the intuitive mind doesn't deal with the nitty-gritty aspects of life. If you ask your intuitive mind, should I go to the store now or should I go later? The intuitive mind doesn't care. It doesn't care if you ever go to the store. What the intuitive mind does is it sets a wave. It sets an emotional wave of how you should move through life. It is very, very simple. Once again, it doesn't care about your career. It doesn't care about whether you have a job or whether you don't have a job. What it cares about is how you cooperate with life. And the intuitive mind is the cooperative agent. Now, for years and years and years, critics of life and all sorts of puffed-up preachers have talked about how man is sinful, and man is not cooperative, and man is nasty, and man is a warmonger and a battler. Well, that's not true at all. Biological research has discovered that we have within us the cooperative cell. It's within our DNA. We are born to cooperate because without cooperation, we are not guaranteed survival. So it's a natural step for us to evolve into this realm of cooperation in order to move forward and do what has to be done on a global basis. Now, I wish I had more time to talk about this morning, but I really don't. But what I'd like you to do this week, as you go through your week, occasionally stop to focus on whatever's happened in your life and just allow your higher mind, your intuitive mind, to direct you. And if you ask it a question, it'll respond. You know, I'm at the grocery store. This person has 18 items in a 12-item line. I'm late for an appointment, and she's chatting up with the cashier and taking up more time. What am I supposed to do, intuitive mind? Get over it. It's not that important. Maintain peace. Cooperate with life. There's always going to be long lines at the grocery stores. There's always going to be traffic jams out on the highways. There's always going to be little bumps and grinds as we go along. That's just the way life is. But the intuitive mind says just cooperate with life. Instead of trying to swim against the current, just go with the current and you're going to be okay. So once again, we're going to take this up next week and explore the intuitive mind at a much deeper level. But for this week, just think cooperation. I'm going to cooperate with life. The Tao has a metaphor for life, and it's water. And it says water flows. And when it meets with some sort of resistance, when some obstacle's in its way, it doesn't stop and do battle with that obstacle, but rather it continues to flow over it, around it, but it continues on its way. And if we see our lives exactly that same way, and as we go through life, if something comes up that we don't like, it's okay. Just go around it and continue on. As we move into meditation, keep that cooperation word in mind. Just cooperate with life, cooperate with yourself, and know that life is truly grand. It is a joyful experience, and we're entering an era that is unlike anything before. We'll now move into meditation. Meditation is not something that we need to learn how to do. It is simply the practice of doing nothing. We just sit. We sit still. Whatever comes into our mind, we observe it. We don't attach ourselves to it. Like a cloud in the sky, we just watch it pass by. The easiest way to move into meditation is to follow your breath. As you breathe in, pause at the top of the breath. And breathe out, pause at the bottom of the breath. And the pause is especially important because that's what allows the breathing to slow down, and that's what allows the mind to slow down. In Catherine Thomas' book, The Third Testament, she tells how it's important for us to go to the deep inner sanction of our being and discover the wisdom, the spiritual wisdom that exists there. And she also talks about how it's important to bring that wisdom out and express it into the world. You have so much to give this world. You're an important part of it. You're a beneficial presence. You're blessed, and you are the blessing. So in a moment of silence, just allow yourself to relax into the silence and know that you are exactly who you're supposed to be, living in a world that's exactly the way it's supposed to be. You're moving into a new era of your life in the silence.